All right. Ew. Okay. All right. Election of 1860. The final moment, the final straw, the big shebang, the moment, the peak. We've all been waiting for this. And Mike, drop war, something like that. Anyways, so the election of 1860 is something that we need to add into our like inventory of different items that led to the Civil War, because in 1860 we had four different people running for office. Four different political parties. Three of the four said, hey, slavery, let's kind of keep it the way it is and like, let's just roll with it, basically. And one was more in this sense of we need to reevaluate where we stand on this, okay? So what ends up happening, long story short, Lincoln is running in this election. Lincoln has the sympathy of the votes of the North because he's the one of the four saying, hey, slavery, you might want to reevaluate. Well, the North also has more people who can vote at this time also, versus their southern counterparts. So when people go to the polls to vote, more people show up who can vote in the North versus the South because population differences. Well, because of that, Lincoln ends up winning by a huge margin inside the presidential election. All right. So the election itself, really, there isn't much to look at or to evaluate. However, it's really the fallout afterwards that's super important. Because if I am living in the South and I am an advocate of slavery and I want to stay the course and I voted in this election because I wanted the best leader to take care of my needs, et cetera, and I just realized that my vote didn't count for anything. In fact, this thing is so substantial that multiple states in the South didn't even put Lincoln on their ballots to vote. They didn't have to, or they chose not to, right? So they didn't put Lincoln on the ballots, and they still lost. Even though all the southern states did vote for the other counterparts of Lincoln, they end up losing significantly. Lincoln goes into office. Well, at that point, if you're in the South, you're sitting back going, we know what we need. We know how our economy is ran. We know the Northerners are going to come down and ruin all this, and they just voted for someone who's going to destroy our entire economy. So if I'm the South at this point, along with all the other pieces, the Texas issues, bleeding Kansas, popular sovereignty, if all these different things are taking place, throw in the Dred Scott decision, and I'm already primed up saying, you know what, forget this, I'm done, peace. And so before Lincoln even becomes president officially through inauguration, before that even happens in March of 1861, the southern states secede, meaning they break away. They form their own nation called the Confederate States of America, and very soon the first shots of the Civil War will be fired. The thing to remember about the election of 1860 is it is a reminder for many on what it feels like or how people react when they believe that their vote does not matter. All right, we've seen in historical context the past several elections here in the United States, people say frequently their vote doesn't matter. Why vote? It doesn't matter. Okay. Some of that really runs from the election of 1860 because this is one of the first times in U.S. history that really we're standing back going, hey, a good chunk of people voted for a candidate and they didn't win. And there were polarizing differences between the candidates. So 1860, presidential election, Lincoln wins. The South is sick of it. The South says, we don't matter to you anymore. You're coming to ruin us anyways. Forget this. We're not being ran by a bunch of Northerners. They break away from the Union. A few months later, the first shots ring out on the Civil War. There you go.